Welcome to the Creative Mind podcast. My name is Maike Döling. I'm your host and I'm here to inspire you in unfolding your creativity and greatness. Today with my wonderful guest, actress and coach Bea-Marie Aning, and we are talking about flow. Enjoy the conversation. I have a wonderful new guest in the podcast, Bea-Marie Aning. She's an actress from Germany. She has her own podcast, 52 Weeks of Flow. She's a mom of two. She is building her own business at the moment as a coach. And I guess so much more. I'm very excited, dear Bea, to talk about also the flow today, which is your favorite topic. I'm welcoming you to the podcast, dear Bea.
Thank you so much, Maike. I'm so happy to be here. Very, very happy to be here.
How are you this morning and where are you?
I'm really good. I slept, I think, about 5 hours straight, which is amazing. Because, yes, I have two kids, but one of them is just 9 months old and is still not sleeping through the whole night. Mm-hmm. So I think all the moms out there can relate.
Yes.
And right now I'm in the north of Spain because we are having like a parental leave workation experience with the kids before our eldest goes to school or starts school. And yeah, so we thought, hey, let's do that. Let's travel Europe.
It's so cool. How old is your older one?
She's 6.
She's 6.
And we also have a dog with us.
Yeah. And where are you traveling? So you said you're in Spain now, going to Portugal.
We've been to France. We're in the north of Spain now. Then we drive down to along the coast down to Portugal. Then we drive through central Spain, back through the Pyrenees, the French Alps. Yeah. And then kind of to a little bit around Bordeaux, where Bordeaux is. And then we're going to... And then my daughter doesn't know that yet, but we're going to do a little stop at Euro Disneyland Paris for her. I think I'm more excited.
Oh, this is so cool. So cool. How is that traveling with the kids?
It's good. It's good in general. It's a lot of adjusting because the kids usually take about 4 to 5 days to really settle and to really get comfortable with a new place. But sometimes we're not staying that long. Sometimes it was just like an overnight stop because the distance would have been too long for us driving 12 hours. Yeah, so it's like the little one then is really attached to me, and like Juna, the older one, she gets really, really excited, and then she just overcompensates by nonstop talking. Like she is so excited and so nervous, and then she's just like a radio the whole time. Blah 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 blah. There's a window. There's a couch. There's this. There's this. There's this. Oh my God! Let's room.
It's so cute.
It is. And both kids, they're both really, really fantastic. But they have so much energy. Oh wow! So when you think, oh yeah, we're doing this, smooth, flowy trip through Europe, and then we go surfing, and then you have like, you're like, whoa, okay, I have to adjust my expectations.
Oh, we're already in the middle of the topic, the flow, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, no, let us start. We will come back to this later. Let's start with you. So I just want to know a little bit about you also for the listeners. who are you? I said you are an actress. I know you had your acting career, but what I read today is you already built your first business when you were 19.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you.
So I actually started out as a dancer, or like started out. I was 6. When I was 6, I had my life figured out. I had it planned out. I was like, I'm going to be a prima ballerina. So that's it. I didn't want to do anything else. I was dancing every day. And I was doing my homework in the ballet school. And yeah, so when I was 13 and started to train on point shoes, there was this boarding school from London. They were auditioning all over Europe. And I was like, yes, I'm going to go there. And I'm going to, go to boarding school in London. Yes. And and that teacher or that examiner said I had a really nice poise. I was doing wonderful creative work, but my feet are wrong, my knees are wrong, my hips are wrong, everything about my body type was wrong. So that I will probably be really tall, which will not make me a good fit for a pas de deux. And probably also I will have a more womanly figure. And as a ballet dancer, you should be really small and petite. And yeah, so she was like, but you have a wonderful expression. So when you're 13, you're like, I have no idea what she means with expression. I just hear I am wrong. Everything about me is wrong. Mm. So my life's dream that I had been working for 7 years, shattered, was on the ground. But I was really lucky. That's why that's where I will come full circle. Yeah. Is that my school created a drama club, a theater club. Mm-hmm. And at that point I was like, okay, all right. Any stage is good. I didn't stop dancing at that time, but I also had an accident, which, kind of stopped me from dancing for 6 months. And so, yeah, I started that drama club, and I completely fell in love with the spoken word. It was like you stand on stage and you're not just transmitting your feelings through arm movements or through the look in your eyes, but you can actually speak. You can actually voice what's happening. And also what really intrigued me was becoming a different person. Mm-hmm. Stepping out of your everyday shell and putting on a different shell. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I joined the local theater in Hamburg, the youth club, and later on I also was an extra in a couple of main productions and so on and so forth. And then I went to acting school, and by that time I thought that's the way to do it. You go to acting school, you start in theater, you do, you learn the craft and stuff. Today is like you say, oh, I want to be an actress. Oh, I'm going to go to this agency, and hey, and they take me, and then I'm going to be a star on TV. Yes. So, that sounds as if I'm so old, but I'm not that old. And so back then it was probably also the same. You could I think I'm around your age, and when I started, it was like this. It was not so normal that people just become actors. They went to acting school, and 1 of 10 was maybe without acting school. But today, I think it changed. Yeah, and so I went through acting school, and my acting school was really cool because we were working in theater productions right away. Mm-hmm. So we were involved from the very first day, basically, because they said it's like this. Max Reinhardt had this system of learning and working at the same time. And this is what my school also did. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So by the time I graduated, I had already starred in, I think it was 38 productions already. And not just as an extra, but also as the main actress, or as, big part of the production.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I stayed a couple of more years at the theater, and by then I was totally burned out.
Oh.
Because I was working so much. You know, it's like you study, then you learn lines, and you have performances, and you're just like do. And by the time, that was amazing. You know, for me in my 20s, I was like, yes, drinking red wine at night, and then, you know, no sleep, and then in the mornings having a kids show, and then it was a different kind of flow.
Yes.
That was not allowed to have any interruption.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time that flow got interrupted or cut, I realized how burned out I was.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I realized later when I studied flow, that was not a real kind of flow. That was just a stormy river that I jumped into and was taken away. You know, and then when you get out of the river and you're standing on the side and you see those waves and and then you're like, whoa, I was in there. Whoa, okay. That was exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just, you know, I did film, I did TV, I did commercial, I did dubbing, I did red carpets. I had my whole acting experience. Mm-hmm. And at some point it was just like, wow, it is really exhausting.
Wow. Yes.
And that's when I met a wonderful coach. Because I was like, okay, I'm stagnant here. I'm not moving forward anymore. It's just exhausting. It is draining. I need help. I need somebody. I need a director who can direct my life at the moment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she came and she just had a couple of really good questions that popped up a lot of questions for me. And at some point she asked me, she was like, hey, have you ever considered being a coach? I was like, nope. Before I met you, I didn't even know that this kind of profession existed.
Yes.
And she was like, you're asking the right questions. And you have the train of thoughts that you're following, like the questions that you're asking that lead to more questions and more questions and more questions. And the willingness to dig deeper, maybe you should consider it. Yeah. I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, no, I'm an actress. I bled for this job. Yeah. I put so much time, money, and effort in this. I'm not going to quit. I later learned that was my ego. Uh-huh. My ego fighting for survival. Yes. And but then I started exploring what this coaching profession could be like. And I realized, because during my time at the theater, I also directed, and I also directed short films. And it felt kind of like I've already coached before. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, when you direct, you don't say, you go from A to B and then you say blah, blah, blah. You try to have the actors involved in the process so that it's like a really flowy process, so that it doesn't seem stagnant or somebody told that person to move from A to B. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's more like a natural flow. Yeah. And so I realized, hey, I was kind of doing that coaching thing before. It's a bit similar to me. I mean, completely different story, but I also, when I started my coaching business, it was also already like, yeah, I kind of coached as well, because I worked as a casting director. So I was like, yeah. And that, yes, just yesterday I told somebody what I liked most at this job was to lead people to a point where they can bring their potential out. And actually I was doing coaching in a different way, but I was already talking to people in a way they could feel safe, they could develop. So I know this experience. Okay, so interesting. It is, sorry to jump in there, but to have a casting director who is able to coach you during a casting or during an audition is so valuable.
Yeah.
So thank you that you did that.
My pleasure. Yes. Yeah, no, really.
Because, most people go into an audition and they're so afraid and they're so nervous, and then to have somebody who's actually creating a safe space, a container, and, where the actor can just open up and...
Yes. That's what I thought lately, that this is sometimes a problem with e-castings, because people are at home and they don't know what to do and they don't feel safe. Okay, some people take a coach, but it's something different when you enter a room where you feel safe and you can just be there and flow, which is the creativity you have. We always come back to this flow topic. This is...
because it's one of the most essential parts of our lives.
Yeah.
It's when you have found your personal flow, then everything makes sense.
Yes.
Everything in your life makes sense.
Okay, so let's just, this is our topic. So what is flow?
Well, there are two different types of flow. You have the peak performance flow, which was discovered, I think 60s, 70s by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Mm-hmm. He's the godfather of flow. And he discovered that when you have 3 pillars, which is focus, involvement, and enjoyment, when all of these 3 pillars take place and your ability to do a task meets the task, basically. Mm-hmm. If the task is too hard, then you set yourself up for failure. But if the task is only a little bit harder than what you're capable of, then you will be able to enter flow state, because you're expanding what you're doing. You're focusing more on what you're doing. You're totally getting involved in what you're doing. And when you realize that you're elevating your gift or your craft, then you're enjoying what you're doing. And this is when your brain goes in tunnel mode, basically. Mm-hmm. And you're bending time, time just falls under the radar. You're not paying attention to time anymore. You're risk averse. You don't have a feeling for risk anymore. That's why there are so many extreme athletes out there. Because as soon as they enter the flow state, they don't think about pain. They don't think about, I could break my arm. They're just in this tunnel of neurotransmitters exploding in your brain, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Because what happens is in flow state, the 5 strongest neurotransmitters are present in your brain. And this is the only state in which they are all present. Mm-hmm. Because when you're in flow, you are genuinely happy. Mm-hmm. And that is what was it? Serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, and this other one that I can never pronounce. It's norepinephrine, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you can Google it. It's out there. 5 neurotransmitters, the strongest 5 neurotransmitters. So your muscles are getting stronger. It's when those neurotransmitters are present, what happens with your body is just you get stronger, you get leaner. All of a sudden you feel like you can fly. You can literally fly, because when you jump, it feels like you're standing still in the air. And I have to say, it's the best drug there is out there. Yeah. But you have to use it yourself. Yes. You cannot just take it.
What were the 3 components of that?
Focus,
yes,
involvement, and enjoyment.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. So this is the peak performance flow, which is the other one.
The other one is your personal life flow.
Okay.
For example, take a river. I love the example of a river. You are the riverbed, your body, your life is the container, and the water in there is your personal flow. You can also say is your purpose, is what drives your life. And most of us think we know what that water is supposed to look like. So we stand in that water and walk against that water and try to, oh no, we have to go uphill. We have to go upstream. No, we have to go this way. No, we have to go that way. But the water will flow in the direction that the water wants to flow, no matter how hard we work against it.
Oh, that's such a beautiful picture. So that means you have to take care of the bed for the water?
Yes. And you don't just have to take care of the bed, but you have to accept the water.
Yes. Okay. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. Sometimes what we think we want is not what we need. For example, I was fighting for my acting career.
Yeah.
I was working so hard and it was so draining, and I was pushing and pushing. And one of my friends, she's really, really successful, and she's like, Bea, I don't know anybody who works as hard as you, who goes to workshop, who does voice training, who, improves every freaking day. Like, by what you do, you should be, in Hollywood. I don't get why you're not there yet. And I was like, I don't know either. And then I thought, okay, I need to work even harder.
Yeah.
I need to do more, be more. And it was the exact opposite. That was like me fighting against the water's current the whole time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And at some point, I was just so exhausted that I let go. That just was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I said, whatever. And all of a sudden, I met people that moved me into other directions. And I had, what was that? I got a really big directing job then. I was like, I don't want to direct, I want to act.
Yeah.
So that was like my...
Again, the ego.
The last fight my ego put up for that. That was like, you know what? I need to earn money. This is a fun project. And there I met an amazing makeup artist who took me on. A makeup artist takes a director to a different job. She was like, you know what? That next project, the director quit. It's about this and this and this. Do you want me to, pitch you in? I was like, sure. So, and then I did this. And then I started coaching some of the actors because they were like, oh my God, working with you was so much fun. And then they called me and were like, hey, I have this audition. Could you help me? And then I started coaching actors first. And then it was just a natural flow and everything just fell into place all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is what being an adult and being in, the work environment can look like. Mm-hmm. And then I met somebody who said, hey, you're an actress, right? You have a really nice presence around you. I have a company. Can you teach my employees presenting skills? I was like, yeah, sure. And so on. And then I met some amazing coaches that I worked with as their apprentice. I watched them coach and I watched how they did it. And so through all of that learning, I created my own style with it. And then I came across flow, and there's another big name. His name is Steven Kotler. He writes crazy books, and he has been an extreme athlete. He actually has been a journalist, but then he became an extreme athlete because he was doing pieces on extreme athletes, and to follow them, he thought he needed to do everything they did and to understand everything. Yeah, so if anybody is interested in really digging deep into the high performance flow, I would really also recommend reading Steven Kotler's book, Stealing Fire, because there he also talks about group flow, which is...
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. Because we're talking about personal flow at the moment, like your personal life's flow or your own high performance flow.
Yeah.
But there's also this other side of group flow, that when you're working as a team and you're focusing on the same task, you both get equally involved in the project, and working together mostly sparks fun and enjoyment. The brains synchronize. There are parts of the brains that synchronize with each other. That's, for example, Navy SEALs get trained as that in flow, in group flow, because when they are in battle, they basically sync each other, and then it's just like they move like one person.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. That's when people are in tune with each other. They don't really have to communicate in words. They just know.
Yeah. It's also when you have a couple who's been married for such a long time and they still get along. we have to add that. That they don't communicate that much with words anymore. That it's just like this, and the other person knows exactly what to do with it.
So when I'm listening to you, I find my own similarities in my life. It's so interesting because I was also thinking about flow and about surrendering. I was talking about surrendering last year a lot and read this book, The Surrender Experiment. I can really recommend that. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Like, we think we have a plan and we want to follow that plan. And this is so much, it already feels like stuck to me when I think of that. So, but I did that a lot in my earlier years as well. So how can we train this letting go, or this being in the flow, or surrender to what's in front of us and not sticking to our old plan? Can we train that, and how?
Actually, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Because every time it gets hard, you are invited to ask yourself the question, why is it getting hard? Why am I feeling resentment against it? Is it what I really want? Or is it something that I think I want? Or am I doing that for others? Yes. Because a lot of times we're doing things for others. Or what we want others to think about us. And your life's flow, your life's purpose work is not about others. It's about, I started lately to ask myself the question, if I really love myself, would I do this? If I really love myself, would I let this happen to me? Or would I let this person speak to me like this? Or would I accept that? And most of the time when I ask that question, the answer is no.
Yeah.
So your personal flow is a lot about self-love, self-acceptance, and self-acknowledgement. Because we are born with infinite potential.
Yeah.
When we are born, everything is possible. And bless our parents. Most of our parents are amazing people who are doing their best to their abilities. And bless our surrounding, because this is also what the people around us, the surrounding, everything, what they have been taught, what they have learned. So when we come into this world, we get kind of smushed into a tunnel because people have expectations.
Yeah.
It starts with, when should a baby crawl? When should a baby start to walk? What should a baby eat? To what point in time should it eat? And we don't look at what is possible for the baby. We say it's too early most of the time. Why? It's always this, babies can't speak. They can't communicate fully with us, but they do communicate.
Yeah.
But we as adults think we know it better. Same thing with parents. We have a plan for our kids. If we don't want them to be doctors, at least we want them to be happy. But that is, it's my expectation for my child to be happy. Mm-hmm. And it hurts me more than anything when they're not happy. But that's my expectation. That has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to be miserable at that moment. Mm-hmm. Maybe they need to be miserable at that moment. But then I'm like, oh, do you need a Band-Aid? Do you need an ice cream? Do you need this? Do you need this? What can I do to make you feel better? And when I realized that, I was like, okay, no. I'm just going to let her be miserable at the moment. And when she doesn't want to be miserable anymore, she will come up. She will.
Wow. Yeah.
But it takes so much strength to not fix everything. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the same with us, with ourselves, Like we need to be the parents, the mother, the father to ourselves that sees the infinite potential that we have. Mm-hmm. And that supports that in us. So yeah, it's about letting go of expectations and always coming back to what would really make me happy in this moment without expectations of others. Mm-hmm. Would this make me happy? If I would love myself, would that work for me? I have this feeling is coming up right now. This is triggering me right now. Why is that coming up? Mm-hmm. What is it maybe supposed to show me? Mm-hmm. What can I learn from it? Instead of just, oh my God, I'm so freaking angry. Like, okay, I'm angry. Great. A feeling only takes 90 seconds to wash through my body. If I give into it, if I put intentions and memories into it, then it will take forever and I can throw a fit for hours. But what if I just look at it and see, okay, what caused this feeling? Where's the trigger? Hmm. And the more you get curious about what's happening, mm-hmm. the more you get into your personal flow, not anybody else's flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a long story to your simple.
Oh, but that was, I just think like it was so beautiful. I agree to everything you said. I just internally, I said, yes, yes, yes. Oh, it's okay. Where do I start? Yes, I also thought what you told us in the beginning, the story about your acting career, you said you were almost in this kind of burnout state or this kind of flow didn't allow any interruption because mm-hmm. then you would have fallen, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it needs this interruption, right? Or what do you mean by interruption?
Well, it was a point where I didn't have a follow-up job, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
I fell into this hole after a project. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think it was just a week or 2 weeks where I didn't have a job, where I didn't have a workshop, where I didn't have an event or anything to go to prepare for, to do anything. And I was sitting in my apartment. I was like, what the heck am I supposed to do? Mm-hmm. And it just all kind of crashed on me. Mm-hmm. It was like I got sick because that's what the body does, when it has a little break from just this machinery, at some point, it's just like, okay, we have a release. Yeah.
Yes.
I had the flu. I had everything that you can imagine. I was in bed for a week. But still, I was thinking, I don't have a job right now. I don't have a workshop. I cannot go to my acting classes. Oh my God, life is ending. Mm. And at the same time, I was like, oh God, I'm so happy that nothing is happening right now. Mm-hmm. I could not go. And I realized over the years that also with clients, we get little hints along the way, to slow down. Mm-hmm. To not do this, it's always like this little nudge that says, really? And at some point, because our body is a lot more intelligent than our brain is, at some point our body just says, okay, I gave you a million hints. You don't want to listen. Okay, I'm going to shut you down. That's either a physical shutdown or a mental shutdown, like a burnout.
Right. It's so good that you say that, because I think I also was close to a burnout when I was in my casting job in the end, because I was just so unhappy or frustrated with my life. I thought, okay, I have a position. I'm the casting director of this agency in this city, and I'm blah, blah. So I am this person, which I'm not. I mean, So in the outside, I felt good because I had a standing, but in the inside, it was not at all the life or the feeling I want to have in life. So, but for me, I was never sick, but I had these mental kind of breakdowns, or when I was holding back my own needs, or also I didn't communicate my needs at all. So for me, there was always, it was like I was holding back for ages. And then there was always one point where I felt like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And then I communicated it, and it was like all this pressure coming out, and then it got emotional, and it was like a huge explosion all the time. And people were, what is happening? And they couldn't understand.
Where's that coming from?
Yes. And it was always like this, but this explosion doesn't happen when you always listen to yourself and communicate and adjust all the time. So it's interesting that you said that there are two, like you can either have it on a body level or on a mental level.
Yeah. And what you just said about needs and communicating your needs, that is also part of your riverbed. The boundaries. You have to set boundaries to actually flow. Yeah. Because otherwise it gets totally out of control. You know, it's kind of like, I'm jumping here, but it's kind of
it's good. Yeah.
Your masculine and feminine energy inside of us. Like we all have that. It has nothing to do with male or female, but it's like the masculine is the container and the feminine is the creative energy that flows freely inside that container. Yeah. If you don't have the container, the energy would just go like foo, foo, foo everywhere. And you would just float all day and nothing would get done. And if there was just a container and no flowy feminine energy inside, it would all be hard and stiff and So
I love this topic about the male and female energy. Yes, it's the same like what we talked in the beginning with the casting. If you enter a room and you are held in that room, which is the male energy, then you can be in your female, flowy, creative energy. But of course, you can also give that to yourself, both of them. But it has to be in balance.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what does that exactly mean, to set the boundaries for you?
Like for me in my life, for example, okay. I have to come back to parenthood in this case. Yeah. Because it's just a wonderful example. You know, we think that we have to set boundaries for our kids so that they don't get hurt, or that they don't, that they become proper participants of the society or stuff like that. Yeah. But what it's about, I need to set my boundaries. I need to make my boundaries clear. Yes. So that my children know how far they can go. Of course, I tell them there's a cliff. Don't jump over the cliff. There's don't. So, of course, don't get me wrong. But it's about mental and emotional boundaries. It's like, stop. Do not cross that line. My capacity is only that big. Don't cross it. Like protecting your mental and emotional health is a boundary. I love my kids. I love my kids to death. But like I said in the beginning, they have lots and lots of energy. And, nobody is not just a mom. nobody is just a mom. That's what I want to say. If you dedicate your life or the first years to your children, this is amazing. But at the same time, you are not just a mom. You're also taking care of the household. You're taking care of so much more. You're a big caretaker. So stay-at-home moms are totally underestimated. Also, when you have a business, when you have, I don't know, if you just have a dog, the dog has other needs than the children, and you have to bring those needs together as well. And don't get lost in that. So setting boundaries there and say, okay, this is my space. This is my time. This is what I need. And there we come to the point where you need to figure out what you need. Not what you want, but what you need.
Yes.
So what you need is to figure out, for the first and foremost thing is how you recharge your energy. Because you can go in this hamster wheel forever, or you can go in this burnout flow, let's say it like that, forever. Mm-hmm. But you need to figure out how to recharge it. You need to figure out how to refuel your batteries. Because if we don't do that, if we don't set boundaries around our mental and emotional health, our capacity, and our energy, then people, emotions, places would just suck the energy out of us. And for me, for example, I recharge my energy best when I'm alone.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Like going surfing or something like that.
Yeah, I think the parent example is such a good example, because when you are in your own flow, also the family will be more in balance, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Good that you picked that up again, because because when you are in flow, everything around you also flows easier. We are connected to everybody else, everybody around us. So we're not just dealing with our flow, but we're also dealing with the flow of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And in a family dynamic, it's an interconnected flow.
Yeah.
Because we're all basically moving in the same directions, but with different needs and different wants.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the rivers just go like this, and sometimes they flow easily. And even when the flow goes left and right, if you stay in your flow, you are more capable of navigating through interconnected flows with other people.
Yeah. Would you say that if you are in your personal flow, because you were talking about these two levels, the peak performing flow and the personal life flow, if you're in your personal life flow, it's easier to enter the peak performance flow?
Yeah. You can do it like an extreme athlete and just do a pattern interrupt and jump off a cliff or jump out of an airplane, and you will jump into flow basically. Because your prefrontal cortex just shuts down. The fight and flight mechanism doesn't work anymore at that point. So your brain frees itself, basically, when you're doing extreme stuffs to your body in a athletic way. Let's say it like that. But when you're in your personal flow, you are already... Your energy is already moving towards it is already moving in that direction. It is already it has already a focus, because it is going with the current and not against the current. It is you are enjoying what you're doing because you're flowing, you're floating. Everything is easier when you're there. So it's also when you have those peak performance flows, there's like this huge topic, but you have little micro flows every day. Like when you're in your personal flow and it all works out perfectly, and all of a sudden you're doing something on your laptop and it works, you're creating a podcast and all of a sudden all the programs work, you hit the right buttons and it's just like done in 10 seconds. And it feels like, those are micro flow moments that we need to feel gratitude about and enjoy, because we most of the time we don't acknowledge them. Most of the time we don't see them. It's like, oh yeah, I felt good then. Yeah, it's a micro flow.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had this picture in my head now of a wave. Like for me, it feels like this, because I also know this jumping and then going in this peak performance flow. And then afterwards, it's like, okay, and how do I get back there? So people always ask, how do I get into the flow? But what I also experienced is when you are in the flow in your own life, it is kind of a natural happening, this wave, and then you kind of naturally come to this peak performance flow, and then maybe you go a bit down. It's more like a river, like you said, and not like so much pressure, which is not healthy. I had this a lot in my life.
I love the picture you painted about the wave, because it is like that. You're going with the water, and all of a sudden you go up for the wave. And that's when your peak performance comes, and you're like, but you're not going like down or you're crashing down, but you're going back to the level that you were before. You're not going in the basement anymore.
Yes.
When you're in your flow.
Yeah.
You're going higher, but then you come back to a neutral or even a good level when you're in your personal flow. And you're not breaking in the basement anymore.
So what would be maybe in our everyday life 2 or 3 tips you can give to our listeners to get into the flow?
Never is a really strong word, but try not to perform a task that you have no skills for. Because most of the time you're setting yourself up for failure. And then the next time you try it, although you might have accomplished a certain skill set, you will procrastinate on that task because you're afraid you're getting that same feeling when you did it the first time. So when you want to get into a flow, look at the task at hand and see if your skill set matches it. If your skill set is bigger than the task, you will get bored. So then it's just, that it's not a flow task. But when your skill set and the task are almost balanced, equal, but this task is just a little bit harder than what you're capable of doing, that's the task which is your flow task, where you can try flow on. The one thing for me, how to get back in my personal flow when life just happens is, it's called the 5-second rule. I think it was created by, what's her name? Mel Robbins. And it's when something happens and it just totally shakes you for some reason, or throws you off track, you count backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you do a physical action. Like, I don't know, do jumping jacks or something like that. Or actually start the task that you wanted to do. Because when you count backwards, your brain gets sent into a tunnel and focused on the task, or focused on, something is changing. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's an open ending.
Yes.
And the brain goes like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When are we doing something?
It's so true.
So counting backwards and then starting the task, or doing like a physical pattern interrupt, like doing jumping jacks, push-ups, a spontaneous dance party, something like that. Just something that shakes your body in a positive way. Or like, this is my absolute go-to exercise that I do that but almost, 20 times a day. It's like box breathing. I call it box breathing because it feels like the pattern is like a box, because you breathe in for 3 seconds, then you hold your breath for 3 seconds, then you breathe out for 3 seconds, and then you hold your breath for 3 seconds again. And the more advanced you are, you can also do that with 5, 7, 10 seconds, however long you can hold the breath, however long you can expand your lung. But this also resets your brain and rewires your priorities in that moment. Yeah. Because everything just falls away. That doesn't need to happen in the present moment.
Thank you. Oh, I love these. Yeah, what you just said. Also, the first one, I have to add one thing. This, when you do something which is a little bit higher than you, I don't know how you said it, a little bit higher than your skill set, or
a little bit more advanced. Yeah.
Because I think we often think, okay, we have to reach this very high level of something, and it feels like a huge jump. But if we go like step by step, we will reach that big goal, but not by jumping, but by going step by step every day. I was also talking with somebody yesterday, and it was like, we often want to have fulfillment immediately, but it feels like there's a huge gap in between. But the thing is, we have to do one step between, and this is seeing what is there now, what's in front of us, what we can do now, the first step, or also gratitude, seeing what is already there and start from that point, and having this feeling of being content with who I am, what I have, what I reached, because this is out of this, I need this, I need a wonder, I need whatever. This is the, in German you say Mangeldenken, I don't know.
A lack.
A lack. This is a lack. So you have to switch to the, okay, I'm content, I'm grateful. And this is already the first step to another frequency. So from there, you go up again to the next level, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So that's, I wanted to say that because I loved what you said. Just do something that is a little bit higher and not immediately the big jump, because that doesn't work.
Absolutely. And that also reminds me of, sometimes we just want to push to the end. We want to have it now and not.
Yeah.
We want the big change. We want the big finale. We want the big event happening like right now. But,
yes.
But to push there and to just make it happen with so much force costs so much strength and so much emotions. So when you said just one step, it reminded me of the 1% that you do better each day, that you only need to change, only need to make small changes, that every day you do 1% better or do 1% more. It doesn't need to be that you're working 24 hours a day, but just 1% a day is like a change of 30% in 1 month.
Wow. Yes.
And so what you said with the one step, if you do 1 step more each day, that's how you start walking.
Right.
And at some point you start to run.
It's true. It's just, it's the natural flow then in the end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this conversation. Is there anything else you want to leave our listeners today? What I didn't ask, what comes to your mind right now?
Don't be disappointed if flow is not a natural thing that is happening in your life at the moment. It is trainable. It is trainable.
It
is trainable.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You can train it. Everything is possible. And I mean that literally. Everything is possible. When we look at extreme sports today, 20 years ago, that was not possible. But then people came and didn't care about what was possible. They cared about what was not done yet.
Yes.
And we are all capable of training ourselves to do the impossible. And I'm certain that at some point in time, people will fly. Maybe not across oceans, but people will create the ability to actually physically fly. Just because it's impossible right now doesn't mean that it is not possible at some point.
Yeah.
And for everybody listening, when you feel like something is impossible for you, write the word impossible down and then distract the first two letters, because it says, I am possible. So the impossible is just a vibration away. When you change the way you look at it, the impossible changes and becomes possible.
Oh my God, that was such a beautiful last word for today. I'm sure there's so much more to talk about this. Yeah, for today. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Thank you for creating this amazing container. I felt really safe and I felt really seen.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Igualmente, we would say in Spanish. Igualmente is, thank you back.
I want to learn Spanish, by the way. This is my next thing, because Spanish is so beautiful.
Yes, I fell in love with this language.
Yeah. Yes. The more I'm here, I'm like, oh, yes, speak more to me. What, you're talking about trash? Taking the trash out? No, yeah, please. Tell me more about it. So where can you find me? Well, I have a podcast that is called 52 Weeks of Flow. I have a website. It's called superwoman.coach. And another one is also in the making, because my male clients were like, I cannot tell anybody that to go to superwoman.coach to that website. So I was like, okay, I'm creating also a website where it's a masculine and feminine balanced website, let's say it like that. It's called Moving River, but it's under construction at the moment. But under superwoman.coach, you will find all the information, how to reach me, how to book an empowerment session or book anything. Or just basic information that you would like about coaching or life in general.
Yes. So you're working with groups and one-on-one?
Yes. I also have remote programs, but I am re-recording the videos at the moment. Okay.
And it's who are your clients?
That's such a good question. That's such a good question. I work with companies. I work with entrepreneurs. I work with badass women who just want to level up. One of my clients said that I am a human potential upgrader. So
I love that.
whoever wants their human potential upgraded and also, take their business to another level along the way is welcome with me. If you're looking for success in all areas of your life, come to me, find me.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for your work you do. Thank you for everything you bring into this world. And thanks for this wonderful conversation. And I wish you, of course, for your traveling now with your family, a wonderful flow.
Thank you.
Experience, have wonderful adventures. And I'm looking forward to hearing your stories.
Thank you so much, Micah. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure to be here.
We really hope you enjoyed this conversation and you can feel your own flow already in your life. We would be very happy if you give us feedback and tell us your thoughts or questions about flow. You can do that on Instagram or through many other channels mentioned before. If you want to know more about flow, you can also listen to Bea's podcast 52 Weeks of Flow, and of course you find all links in the show notes. I would also be happy if you leave me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast or Spotify to help me grow the podcast and let more people be inspired by the content. So please also share and recommend the podcast. For now, I wish you a wonderful day full of flow. Thank you so much for listening and see you soon.